trying to stay away from, the got you moments, I think is the most of our concern, that's not what it's about. It's about the dynamic of players as a whole and how the structure works going through a full 162 plus. I think guys are smart enough. There's cameras around all the time now. There's media in the clubhouse all the time now. There's guys are doing YouTube videos as well. So I think guys are more used to it, and they're put in a better position to succeed in these sort of atmospheres. But I think the got you moments were probably our biggest reservation. But Greg was very open dialogue that this isn't what this is about. This isn't a got you type thing. It's, you're trying to see the interesting dynamics of each player and what their stories present going through a season like this.
Have you watched any of the other Netflix sports docuseries like The Last Dance?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of The Last Dance. I really enjoyed that one. I've watched Full Swing. I'm going to watch the second season coming out here. I've watched bits of Formula One as well. I have not watched Hard Knocks, but you get to kind of build a relationship with those players, and you get to see a different dynamic. And I think that's interesting about it. It just brings that extra thing to the fans, to everybody around baseball, and just how important it is to us, and we want to show what it means to us as well, and then what everybody else goes through as well with it.
You mentioned Last Dance moment.
I think mine is getting to know Jordan as who he was as a competitor, but also how much he cared on a daily basis. You see him as a fierce competitor and that, but his caring for wanting to push guys to be who he was and who he is, to bring up all of the players around him. I think that's what really struck out to me, that it was very interesting.
You mentioned the concern about gotcha moments. How would you describe the buy-in of the rest of the team, the players?
I think everybody's bought in pretty well. I think it was fully up to us, and we had a communication at the end of the year, and then we had a Zoom call during the off-season. I don't think it's really much of a concern to anybody. It just was our primary concern. Now it's just, what players are going to be more invested in other players, and then, respecting boundaries also for players that don't necessarily feel like being a part of it, it's just open communication, which seems it's going to be.
For you personally, just on the mound, last year, you obviously had some really strong and impressive stretches, and I'm just curious how you're trying to maybe carry that into this year to kind of maybe be a leader in the rotation, or kind of figure out how you're going to contribute.
Yeah, I think for me, it all starts with how consistent I'm going to be and setting that standard. I went through my woes earlier in the year, and I wasn't very consistent. I got sent to the bullpen. I learned a lot, had some good conversations with guys down there, and fought myself back into that position. And so I think, to answer in short, it's just lead by example and go and set the standard. I have Lucas there with me as well. Bayo's going to take a huge step forward as well. Cutter's had a very strong year last year as well. He's going to take a step forward, and we'll see, what Garrett and Houck have in store. Both very capable baseball players and way ahead of me even when I was their age. So I think we're going to be very strong, but we're going to have to rely on every facet of our rotation, and then making it as easy as possible for when the relievers come in the game, so they have their spots to pick. They're put in situations where they're going to succeed, and they're not trying to fight. It's just go in, compete, and next guy comes in, own three pitch counts, and just I think everybody has a chance to really improve this year in our own individual ways, and it's going to take all of us to do that.
Am I remembering correctly that 19 into 20, you and Lucas worked out together that off season?
I don't know about that. I came up with Lucas with the Nationals, but I don't know where he was at. I think 19 and 20 he was with the White Sox still.
He was with the White Sox,
yeah. So
I was trying to remember if there was an off-season program.
No, so I trained with him for the first time back in 19. We had the same agent, and I went out there went out to California with my wife. And we trained. That's where I started my program with Matt Uhara, my strength coach that I work with year round.
Yeah. Did you try to take anything at that point in your career from Lucas? Were you trying to do anything delivery wise, or?
I think I had, if my memory serves me correct, I think I thought I needed to have a shorter arm angle.
Yeah.
I think at the time, which turned out to be a terrible idea, and I ended up axing it right away and trying to just get back into myself. I ended up getting traded in 2020 and then coming here and kind of reinventing myself into who I am today.
How tricky is that as a pitcher to figure out risks that you're willing to take, with the possibility of both upside and of having seasons that end up getting you traded?
Yeah, so I'll give you the example. So obviously, you have to take chances always, and you always have to invest in yourself and try to improve yourself as best as possible. And sometimes you're just not going to make the right decisions. I made a bad decision with shortening up my arm angle. I made a really good decision last year starting to throw a slider, a better slider. So they kind of, they're even keel. You know, some work better than others, and one didn't work and one worked really well, and then you just kind of build on top of the ones that work really well. It's trying to find who you are as a player, as a pitcher. And the game is always ever developing and changing, and guys are getting better at younger ages, so you're just trying to get better at your age you're at that time too as well.
So what kind of risks were you working on this offseason? Like, were you
No, I don't think it was so much risk. I think the biggest thing is just consistency. It's honing in on my mechanics, making sure I'm competing with all my pitches, making sure my velocity is where it needs to be at, and you know, always pushing the envelope in the gym and trying to get faster, stronger, and also recovering, staying healthy is a huge thing. So whatever extra things I can do to do that as well is something that, you know, I can change and I can develop.
What have the just early conversations been like with Bailey and kind of working with him?
Yeah, it's been really, it's been good. I've already learned quite a bit. I think there's going to be more to learn. I think he brings a really good dynamic, a really good history of learning. Also a player, so he understands what it's like to go through 160. Not that Dave Bush wasn't any of the same, but there's a lot of developmental side through mechanics, through pitch grips, pitch design, and then owning the 3-pitch counts.
Story
I'm
was
sorry,
saying-
I'm so sorry, but the 3-pitch count, I'm sorry, can you clarify what that
So
is?
it's basically for a bullpen, you know, you get 3 pitches, has to be 3 strikes. It's a win if you're 2-1 or 0-3, but it's a loss if it's a win if you're 1-2 or 0-3, and it's a loss if you're 2-1 or 3-0, which nobody wants to be. And then you just flip over to the next batter because realistically you want to get the batter out in 3 pitches or less.
Story was saying this morning that there's been a culture change here. The players can feel it, and I'm wondering if you can feel that too. He was saying specifically it's sort of this like culture of competition among guys
Yeah.
to go out and win jobs. And do you feel that? Do you feel like something has changed?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think we compete for a living, and I think that needs to start from day one. Guys are competing for jobs. Guys are competing for everything at every time to keep, even throughout the season. You know, there's so many different things that can happen. So if you're always in that competitive mindset, you're always in that competitive kind of situation, you're going to succeed when you're in the even more competitive situations, and that's what it's all about. And you know, the earlier on we can start that, and we can compete with each other, and we can, you know, feel the fire and really, you know, get that mindset going early, the better we are going to be as the season progresses, as the games get more competitive, and as we get down to the stretch.
Is it surprising that like sort of the market this offseason has been as slow as it's been?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting still seeing Montgomery and Snell up there. But, you know, those guys have I can't speak on behalf of them. They have their individual plan with what they are. You know, they have their agent, Scott Boras. I think it's just, you know, you have 2 extraordinary pitchers, and they're kind of holding out for what they believe they deserve. And, you know, more power to them. And we'll see where they land. But it has been a little bit wonky, but it's also, you know, guys signed really early as well. You had Ohtani sign earlier. You had Yamamoto signed earlier as well. Hader just signed like a couple weeks ago. So it is moving. I just think it's based on that given individual and how they want to tackle the offseason.
A year away from free agency, are you excited about that possibility? What's your mindset kind of heading into the contract?
I'm always excited. I'm excited to, you know, take my steps forward. But, you know, I think my focus is here with the team, and that's where it needs to be. Whatever happens in the end happens in the end. But, you know, worrying about that stuff is not my priority. It's how much better can I get on this team? How much better can I make the individuals on this team? And, you know, I think the most impressive thing is, you know, 26 guys coming together and achieving a goal. And then your goals get achieved on top of that because you're doing all the right things for the team. And then once the team achieves, then you achieve, and then kind of you sail off into the sunset after that. But my focus is here with these guys here, with these men. You know, that's where my dedication is.
And do you want to sit down and maybe talk about an extension at some point down here?
I'm not willing to really speak on behalf of that. What I do, like I said, it's just right now it's just focusing on the Red Sox. That's where I am right now. That's where we all are right now. And, you know, whatever happens in those times, we'll see. But right now, it's just focusing on this right now.
going back to the whole culture thing, do you
Mhm.
also feel like you guys are competing with your former selves, trying to be better than you were before, and hearing Cora say, we need these players to take steps forward. Do you feel like that's a different level of competition that you're also just
Yeah,
competing with
I think
yourselves?
that's a really good way of saying it, the same way that AC said it. You should always be competing with yourself. You should be competing with others, but you should always be trying to push the envelope, make yourself better, have a better outing than you did before, change something that you need to change, whether it's just small goals like I walked 3 guys last time, I'm only going to walk 1. I struck out 5 guys last time, I want to strike out 7. I threw X amount of first pitch strikes, I want to throw X amount of first pitch strikes. So it's finding those little games with yourselves and those little things that you can win, and then that helps you build more confidence and then continue to move forward. And it also helps, like I said before, like other guys see what you're doing and they want to do what you're doing. So for an example, I remember when, I always wanted to emulate and do better what Nate did the start before me. For example, I would feed off of him going out and doing his thing. Same thing with Bayo, same thing with Lucas, same thing with Cutter. I do want to be better than those guys because I want those guys to be better than me at the same time, because if we're all doing really good, then everything else is kind of smooth sails from there. Good? All right, thank you guys. Appreciate your time.